Alright, sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulties, but we're going to continue talking about plot structure. And at this point in time, I'm going to introduce the book that I was telling you about earlier. This is a book called Those Terrible Toy Breakers by David McPhail. So we're going to go through the book, and then I'm going to talk to you, we're going to talk about each of these plot points as it relates to this book. It has a pretty cut and dry plot structure, so it'll be easy for us to figure out where everything is going to fit in here. Okay? Walter lived in the jungle. Alright, so in this first sentence, it's easy for us to see that we have our character and our setting established in the first line, in the first page. Alright, so we know right away this is going to be part of our exposition. So I might even want to make a note before I even get too much further and start to get confused about what is what, that I know for a fact that I've got my character and my setting. Okay, and I can make notes as I go here. So I know that my character's name is Walter. Alright, so let's read on and get a little bit more information here. Walter lived in the jungle. At least he thought it was the jungle. It looked like it. There were thick bushes all around Walter's house and big trees all around his yard. Okay, so we know that it's going to be, the setting is going to be Walter's house, which has lots of trees. Okay, so let's put this aside and go on and see what else we can find. Now again, let me just point out really quickly that this is not the entire exposition. This is just the basic information that we have. So let's see if there's any other, before we say that this is done and we're ready to move on to our rising action, let's just take a look and see what other information we can get from our exposition, okay? It's usually not that small amount of information. Walter's friend Bernie told him once that there were lions and tigers and elephants out there. So it must have been the jungle. But they only come out at night, Bernie said. They won't bother you in the daytime. Walter didn't want to get eaten by a lion or a tiger or stepped on by an elephant. So he made sure that he had all his toys picked up and he was in the house before dark. Alright, so we really have a baseline, a beginning part of our story where we know that this is a little boy who's worried about lions and tigers. His friend is teasing him and saying they only come out at night and they won't bother you in the daytime. So he always makes sure he picks up his toys. So we can sort of add in, we have another character named Bernie, okay, and that they are worried about lions and tigers and elephants. Okay. We're going to wait to fill this out till we sort of collect all of our information, and then we can really sort of narrow it down. But one night, Walter forgot to put his tricycle away. When he went out the next morning, he found it all bent. "What a terrible thing to do," said Walter to Bernie. "A lion did it," Bernie said. "You can tell by the claw marks on the handlebars." Now I want to point out to you that this word here, this but, is an important word because it really gives us a clue that our exposition is over and we're starting to see some action. We're starting to see some conflict. And in this case, the conflict is that something bent Walter's tricycle. And they're very upset by it, right? It's a terrible thing. All right? And Bernie's saying a lion did it. So we think that maybe we're going to have some conflict between Walter and the lion. Okay? So that sort of that but, I'm just going to note that here so that we remember that that is sort of a clue. It's a key word that we're changing over from the exposition into the rising action. So the triangle, not the triangle, sorry, the tricycle got bent and that it has claw marks on it. Okay, so we see how this is like a little stressful. We're seeing that something bad is going to happen, and if we can make some predictions about the plot at this point. We can say, well, maybe the lion's going to come after him next. We could say that maybe it's going to come after one of Bernie's toys next. We don't know, but we can make some predictions, but we can definitely see elements of conflict at this point. A few days later, Walter kicked his football so hard he couldn't find it. In the morning, it was sitting in the middle of the yard, flat as a pancake. Someone around here isn't being very nice, Walter told Bernie. It's a mother tiger, Bernie said after he looked at the ball. Those stripes on the ball would fool a tiger and make her think it was a tiger egg. And of course she would sit on it and try to hatch it. So this page back here, we had this word but, okay, which introduced us to a new situation. And if we look at this page, we have yet another one. This is a little different, but it's a few days later. Okay, there's a pause in the action, and then we're introducing yet another something bad. Okay, so our action is continuing to rise. So we have a few days later, and then we have the football is flat. Okay. Nothing else happened until Walter's wagon got stuck in the garage door when he was putting it away. In the morning, it wasn't stuck anymore, but it was broken right in half. Walter was angry. Who could do such a terrible thing, he asked Bernie. An elephant, said Bernie. Only an elephant's foot could break a wagon in half like that. All right. So this is tricky because this one says, we were just talking about these transition words like but and a few days later. And this one wants to trick us because it says nothing else happened. But if you look right here, we've got until. Okay? Until. So the author sort of is giving us a lull of security, false sense of security. And we can see that it keeps this, it's not, the conflict isn't escalating straight up like this. It's sort of going, nothing else happened until, okay? But a few days later, nothing else happened until, okay? So we have until. Now these keywords are not always going to be available for you, and especially not in the kind of simple and obvious language that you would find in this sort of a picture book, but you can notice transitions that start new sections, maybe a chapter break, maybe a section break, maybe the introduction of a new character or a changing of a point of view. And when you see those kinds of elements or those changes in your literature, then you know that there is the author's moving on to a different point, and it's at this point in the story you were usually thinking about rising action. Okay, and then this is the wagon is broken. Right. All of my toys are being broken, Walter cried. What can I do? You've got to set a trap, Bernie said, and catch all those terrible toy breakers. Walter did not know how to set a trap. He didn't even know what a trap was. But Bernie showed him. First, they dug a big deep hole just below Walter's bedroom window. All right, so we no longer are introducing conflict at this point, but we are introducing another, this is still part of our rising action, and that's that they want to build a trap. All right, and again, this makes us feel a little bit tense as readers because as kids, I don't know about you, but you know, if I had wanted to dig a hole, a big trap, it probably wouldn't have worked out, and I probably would have dug a hole the size of my mother's mixing bowl before I would have gotten tired and stopped. So we have some tension here about whether they're going to be successful about building this trap, whether Bernie knows what the trap is, what it is that they're going to catch in the trap. All right, so all of these questions in all of these possibilities show us that really we have unanswered stuff going on, we have unresolved things, and we're still talking about our rising action. So I'm gonna I just want to indicate that we're still on number 2 here. We're still talking about rising action, and we're building a trap. All right. Then they got some sticks and laid them across the hole. After that, they covered the sticks with leaves and dirt. "Now, there," said Bernie, "now all we need is some bait." And he looked at Walter's teddy bear. "Not my teddy bear," said Walter. "But lions and tigers and elephants love teddy bears," Bernie explained. "Nothing else will do." "Then we won't do it," Walter said firmly. "Do you want those animals to keep breaking your toys?" Bernie asked. "I'll hide all my toys," Walter said desperately. "Then they'll get angry," Bernie said, "and they'll come and eat you up." Now, this is not an obvious conflict in the story. These two are on the same team, but this is also just a small amount of conflict. Bernie's really trying to talk Walter into giving up a very important possession. He's scaring him a little bit, trying to intimidate him into giving up his teddy bear. So, you know, if we were reading something that was a little bit more complex and a little bit more advanced, you know, we could consider that a smaller conflict as well. So we're going to say they fight about the teddy bear as bait. I wanted to point out that we didn't really do anything with this page, this page here, even though we had those key transition words then and after, because this is really all still part of our plot where we talked about them building a trap. Okay, it's all sort of belongs in that section together. All right. When Bernie put it that way, Walter didn't seem to have much choice, so he gave Bernie his teddy bear. Bernie put it in the bushes above the hole. "There," he said, pleased with himself. "To those animals it will look like your bear fell out the window, and when they come over to get it, they'll fall in the hole." Then Walter and Bernie went up to Walter's bedroom to wait. Walter was almost asleep when Bernie nudged him and whispered, "Here they come." Sure enough, a lion, a tiger, and an elephant crept out from behind the trees and crept toward Walter's teddy bear. The lion, who was leading the way, was the first one to fall in the hole. He reached out to grab a branch, but he grabbed the tiger's tail instead and pulled her into the hole too. "Get us out of here," they called to the elephant. The elephant got down on his knees and leaned into the pit. "Grab onto my trunk," he said, "and I'll pull you out." Both the lion and the tiger lunged for the elephant's trunk and grabbed hold. "One at a time," shrieked the elephant. But it was too late. The weight of the lion and the tiger together was too much for the elephant, and he tumbled head first into the hole on top of the two big cats. All right, so all of this, I read for a couple of pages because this is all really just a long way of saying number 3, which is our climax. The conflict reaches the highest point of interest, okay, is that the trap catches the lion, the tiger, and the elephant. Okay, we really, it's the most exciting point. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the elephant is going to, the elephant, if they're going to hurt the kids, if they're going to try to eat them, what they're going to do, but we do know that there's no turning back at this point. They've caught these animals, and we can't wait to see what's going to happen next. What a commotion there was then. "Get off me," roared the lion. "Me too," shouted the tiger. "I can't," said the elephant. "I'm stuck." While all this was going on, Bernie and Walter ran downstairs and stood at the edge of the hole. "Now we have you," said Bernie with glee. Walter lifted his teddy bear out of the bushes and held on to it tightly. Are you the ones who broke my toys? Walter asked. Accidents, said the lion, all accidents. We never meant to break them, insisted the tiger. We were just playing, added the elephant. Now help us get out of here. Not until you promise to fix Walter's toys, said Bernie. We promise, said the lion, the tiger, and the elephant. Alright, so let's take a look. We know that we've caught them in the trap, alright, and now at this point, the action's all downhill from here. They've got them in the trap. So the first thing, we had a little, up here we talked about the fight using the teddy bear as bait. So part of our falling action can show that we rescued the teddy bear and they talk to the animals and the animals promise to fix the toys. So you can see how these falling action, I have to do one thing at a time. You can see how the falling action in this story, rescuing the teddy bear, talking to the animals promise to fix the toys, it's not nearly as exciting as these elements that are leading up to our climax and to our climax as a whole. We're really sort of heading down, the excitement's over, we're winding down, okay? These really is not quite as tense and stressful as the story elements leading up to it. So Walter and Bernie took a hold of the elephant's trunk and pulled as hard as they could. Slowly the elephant climbed out of the hole and plopped down on the grass. Whew, thanks, he said to Walter and Bernie. Then he reached into the hole with his trunk. Now, he said to the lion and the tiger, try it one at a time. And very soon they too were out of the hole and on the grass beside Walter and Bernie. Walter went back to his room and returned with his toolbox and his broken toys. True to their word, the lion, the tiger, and the elephant went right to work repairing the toys, fixing them up as good as new. There, they said when they were finished, all fixed. Thank you, said Walter. You did a wonderful job. You were welcome, they said. We were sorry we broke them. Walter felt so bad about trapping the lion, the tiger, and the elephant that he gave each of them a present. Alright, so let's take another quick break. We have, last we talked about they promised to fix the toys. The boys pull them out. The animals fix the toys. Okay, and then Walter gives each one a present. To the lion he gave his scooter. To the tiger he gave his striped beach ball. To the elephant he gave his cowboy hat, cowboy rope, and spurs. And to his friend Bernie he gave a pat on the back and a mug of warm cocoa. The end. Alright, so when we take a look at them, that the last part of our pyramid here, the end of the story. So I may have jumped the gun on this, and that's alright. You can sort of reevaluate as well. Let's see if I can get this guy to refocus for me. We might change and say that this is really part of the end of the story, is that Walter gives the animals a present and he gives Bernie cocoa and Bernie cocoa. O-A-C-O-A. Okay, so that's really sort of the end of the story. That's where our story ends. That's the last we see of these guys. Alright? So now we have on this page, we have really the events of the story all sort of separated out. We have them divided into their various numbers. And we really need to consolidate our thoughts here into these 5 basic steps. So for number 1, we can, if we're going to consolidate all of these thoughts, we can really say that Walter is worried about toy breakers, about animals breaking his toys. That's what we're establishing with the first pages of our story. He's worried about now, there's this one little box here. Don't think that you have to fit this all in. It's not going to happen. Okay, if you're doing it right, you're going to have more to write than just there. But you're also going to be able to really sort of fit these onto smaller, if not one box, then really the, sort of a line like this. Okay. Number 2, we have these sort of fit. The triangle is the tricycle getting bent, and the football being flat and the wagon being broken. This is sort of fits really sort of into this sort of beginning escalating part. So our rising action, if we have to boil it down to one big thing, it's going to be that Walter and Bernie build a trap. Right? That's the most exciting, escalating part of our story. Build a trap to catch the animals. Alright, and then this is already really written out for us, is the trap catches the animals. Number 4, which is our falling action, they rescued the teddy, they talked to the animals who promised to fix the toys, and the boys pull the animals out, the animals fix the toys. So if we have to consolidate this, we probably don't need to add in the part about the teddy. We can probably turn these 3 sentences into a smaller sentence to say that the boys free the animals who fix the toys in return. When you really have one box on this, a worksheet like this, you want to leave out some of the less important parts. We really don't need to say that that Walter rescued his teddy, and we don't really need to talk about the animals pulling each other out. We're really consolidating our thoughts just into this one sentence. And then the last part is that Walter gives everyone gifts. Okay, so that's how we would go about identifying our plot structure as we go throughout a story. You probably won't be doing it page by page if you're reading something thicker than a picture book, but you can do it even chapter by chapter. And if you have to move things, like I moved something from number 4 to number 5, you can move it. You can always move stuff around, but it's better to write it down and then have to take it out later. All right, good luck.
More.